Dan Hooker discusses his fighting future following his win over Mateusz Gamrot on UFC 305. The New Zealander secured a hard-fought decision victory and put himself back into the upper echelon of the lightweight division, and now, having won 3 fights in a row, all against top-level competition, the Hangman is closer than ever to getting the opportunity to challenge for the division belt. With his win over Gamrot, Dan basically secured a title eliminator fight, and in his most recent interview, he revealed what the UFC is leaning toward, and that option is definitely exciting for the fans. Dan claimed that Charles Oliveira is the most likely next opponent for him, and that the UFC wants that fight. If in fact this is how things play out for the Kiwi and he manages to defeat Oliveira, the probability of him fighting for the title will certainly become high. There is one problem with this, however. He has already fought Islam Makhachev, who holds the title, and the fight wasn't competitive, with Islam securing a quick finish. If Makhachev beats Sarukian and Hooker beats Oliveira, there really would be no other option for Islam at lightweight than to fight Hooker again. Anyway, Dan commented on this all, saying the following, quote, "I'd like to get one more fight in this year, and then fight for the title next year. I don't know what's next. They want Charles. That's a good fight, but there's a lot of cool stuff I can do. The lay of the land is pretty crazy right now. It's such a wild sport. We'll see what happens. It would also be such a troll move to snake that fight off Chandler. Imagine that. I would feel like the biggest snake troll in history. But anybody, I couldn't care less. Even Arman, I said to Sean and Hunter that I want to fight Arman. Screw it, you know? We'll go the toughest way to the title that we can. Turner, Gamrot, Arman, and Islam. I just don't care. I would prefer the hardest road to the title." End quote. Michael Bisping questions KHAMZAT CHIMAEV'S potential as a reliable asset in the UFC and comments on what's at stake in his fight against Robert Whitaker and how the UFC approaches assessing individual prospects' championship potential, something that would obviously apply to CHIMAEV as well. CHIMAEV'S rapid rise in the sport was a direct result of being an active competitor and bringing electric, wild fights that ended in quick finishes, followed by a war against Gilbert Burns, which he also won. CHIMAEV'S enthusiasm toward all parts of being a UFC fighter and aggressive interaction style with fighters both inside and outside of the octagon catapulted him into stardom, but as his popularity grew and financial situation elevated, paired with some legal travel issues, his career rise slowed down. Health problems also started occurring, something that forced him to pull out of the Robert Whitaker fight the first time it was scheduled. His last fight took place in October when he defeated Kamaru by decision. It is natural that the trend of uncertainty isn't something that would give UFC confidence in relying on him as a potential challenger for the title and a champion. Michael Bisping shares thoughts on this subject, stating the following, quote, "You gotta remember, there's so much stuff that goes into promoting these fights behind the scene, and promoting a pay-per-view is millions and millions of dollars. And yeah, you might get people missing weight and dropping out the card. But typically, how often do you see the main event of a pay-per-view drop off? That could be a reality with HANGMAN right now, because he hasn't proven that he's reliable. Not recently. And that was kinda his thing. Early, he was ready to go at any time. Then he got sick really bad, and that got other things to linger with him for a while. So yeah, you can't put trust in him yet. He's got to make it to a big fight a big ranked fight. Robert Whitaker, who's been nothing but game for this fight ever since it was being talked about. It was set up before and didn't happen. So let them have it. Let them get that fight out of the way. We're having trouble even getting HAMZAT to these fights. If you're the UFC, you're not banking on him being any title challenger yet. You want to see, can he come in, be healthy, look good, and then can we expect you to do that again, and then maybe we can talk about the title picture, end quote. Dana White makes a shocking statement about Jon Jones and Conor McGregor, seemingly revealing that both fighters will retire without fighting even one more time. The situation with Jones's and McGregor's careers is only similar in one way. They're both at the end of it. Jones, after having conquered the heavyweight title and cementing his legacy as the greatest MMA fighter ever, has been clear about his intention to fight Stipe and then retire. He's made it no secret that he wants the former champion, who can be considered the greatest heavyweight champion the UFC has ever had, on his list of defeated opponents. Stipe himself has revealed his intention to retire soon and doesn't represent the highest danger in the division, so with a relatively easy victory over him that Jon most likely banks on, Bones would announce his retirement. McGregor, on the other hand, hasn't fought since breaking his leg in the Dustin fight. Hasn't won a fight in over 4 years and is pulled out of the Michael Chandler fight, which was supposed to happen June due to another injury. After the UFC 305 presser, when asked about McGregor's future, Dana said that the Irishman definitely won't fight this year. Now, things appear to have changed for both McGregor and Jones, with the news about Jones being more surprising than McGregor, as no apparent reason was given for this. In a recent interview, when asked about whether McGregor would ever fight again for the first time ever, he revealed that Conor's UFC career might already be over and included Jon Jones in that conversation as well. Dana hinted that both Jon and Conor have already retired, and the official announcements are just a matter of time and of technicality. Quote, "Is he ever gonna fight again? I don't know. Also, I don't know if Jon Jones will ever fight again. And this is not something that somebody in my position can stress out about. You just gotta move on, continue building your business and finding new talent. It's all a part of this business. All anybody has ever asked me, what are you gonna do when Chuck Liddell retires? What are you gonna do when Ronda Rousey retires? What are you gonna do when Anderson Silva and George St. Pierre leave? And the answer is the same. I'm gonna keep doing what I do." End quote. Robert Whitaker shares thoughts on his fight against KHAMZAT CHIMAEV and comments on Sean Strickland not being interested in fighting him. The Reaper guaranteed himself a title eliminator bout after his spectacular finish of Ikram Aliskerov, which took place after CHIMAEV pulled out of the fight with Robert due to heavy illness. After Whitaker finished the replacement fighter, who was a highly touted middleweight prospect himself, he expressed his desire to fight CHIMAEV to the UFC brass, and the fight got rescheduled for October. The two will contest for the opportunity to get the title shot in Abu Dhabi, fighting under Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway. Rob also reacted to Sean Strickland continuously rejecting the idea of fighting him, instead aiming for a rematch against DICUSSES for the belt. Quote, "My mentality was, I want to fight by the end of the year. If they gave me a title fight, I would be happy. Now if something happened and the CHIMAEV fight gets canceled again, and they tell me to just wait until next year and fight DICUSSES for the belt, I will wait. I'm in no rush, really. But I also want to stay in great shape, and active competition has always complimented me. But, you know, if they tell me that all I have to do to get a title fight is to wait, I would certainly agree to that. Reclaiming my title is still the ultimate goal. But I don't really care. It's like, I'm going to fight one way or another, and winning pushes me toward my goals anyway, and I don't fight to lose." As far as Strickland, I don't really pay much attention to much of what he says. He says a lot of crazy crap. And you can't really look into what a fighter is saying too much, because they say one thing and then do another. Adesanya said he's out till 2030, or some crap like that. And look at him now. And Strickland has done a lot of stuff where he's like not fighting this dude, and then he's punching on him a week after. So it's hard to say I don't look into it at all. The UFC will come with names, and they'll say yes or no, then I will say yes or no, and the rest is history. End quote. Drop your predictions on CHIMAEV versus Rob in the comments below and share your thoughts about the subjects discussed. Thanks for watching. Until next time.